This is it. You're listening to Jacob Dean.
We have to deal with the extraction that is at foot. It is the reason the financial markets are behaving the way they're behaving. That is a mathematical fact. This is not some opinion. This is a mathematical fact.
We bring you the real stuff.
And the fact of the matter is that there's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking, it's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation. And there's not a single politician that has stepped forward to deal with it.
Streaming live on the web.
People of the United States of America, your Congress is bought. Your Congress is incapable of making legislation on health care, banking, trade, or taxes, because if they do it, they will lose their political funding, and they won't do it. But I'm the President of the United States, and I won't have a country that is run by a bought Congress. So I'm not going to work with a bought Congress and try to be Mr. Big Guy. I'm working with the bought Congress. I'm going to abandon the bought Congress like Teddy Roosevelt did.
You're listening to Jacob.
And I'm going to go to the people of the United States and I'm going to say, you've got a bought Congress. And until we get rid of the bought Congress, which is Jimmy Williams' constant point, which is get the money out of politics, and until a president says that's the problem and says he's going to fix it, there is no policy that I can possibly see, no matter how brilliant your idea may be, or your idea, or my idea, or her idea, or your idea at home.
This is it.
That idea will not happen as long as there's the capacity to basically fire a politician who disagrees with me by taking funding away from him. Is that a fair assessment?
I think you're spot on, Mr. Dylan Radigan. Hello, my name is Jacob Dean. You are listening to Filter Free Radio. We are broadcasting live. It is Monday, August 15th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. if you're on the West Coast. Thank you, everybody out there, for hanging out with us and joining us this evening. We have a fantastic show lined up for you. So much happening and going on in the world that we need to talk about. And and that was Dylan Radigan opening the show, MSNBC's Dylan Radigan, and I heard his rant, mad as hell. Dylan had an epic mad as hell moment there on MSNBC last week, and we definitely have those clips we are going to share with you off the top of the show here, and I want to bring in my co-hosts. Let me note to self, turn on the microphones here. Running the
speaking in a microphone when you do that.
Running the hamster wheel and all of the gizmos behind the scenes. So bear with me, as this is still only our third show, and
Hey-o.
we've been getting fantastic feedback from everybody. Nothing but great support out there. So I do want to thank everybody for checking out the show and welcoming my co-host this evening, my fantastic super duper sidekick co-host Master. We're going to come up with a really awesome lengthy title for you, Scott. Skeptical Scott's in the house. What's going on?
Hello.
And I will not mess this up. I have very strict instructions to introduce him as the news gladiator. Justin's with us. How's it going, bud?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Justin was with us on the very first program, and you were lucky enough to go back to home and for a little vacay, and so you weren't able to hang out with us last week. But he's back. Our news gladiator is here with us, and he has lots of news for us.
So much news. So much news.
Oh, my goodness. There's news galore.
There is more news than I can possibly gladiate.
And kicking off the news, I think the most important thing that we need to know today is, if you haven't heard it already, we played part of it in the opening, and that is Dylan Radigan's mad as hell moment that he had on his program on MSNBC just last week on Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember what day it was. But Dylan was not on his show for the remainder of the week. Now, I don't know if he just it is summertime. Everyone's taking vacations. Everybody's off. And I'm probably just a conspiracy theory hat on here. But he probably just had a long weekend scheduled, and he was all set, and he was pissed. And so he let her rip. But I did find it really interesting that Dylan went on this epic rant for about 5 minutes on his program and then was not on his show for the rest of the week. Now, he was back today live. So there is nothing to worry about. Like if you're not following or were wondering, Dylan was live today. And so I'm not going to speculate on that any much more than I already have. But I heard this rant last week, and I basically just was in awe and wanted to thank Dylan personally, not like he listened to the show or anything, but I want to thank Dylan personally for doing that, for speaking for all of us, because I'm sure I'm not the only one in the House who would agree that he was damn spot on, and more people need to be saying this. More people need to be calling out our elected officials, our president, everything that we can do. I mean, now is the time, guys. It's so crucial.
And the most important thing about what he said was the fact of the matter was that he basically just pointed out that the conversation is bullshit. It's a shell game.
Right.
Who gives a shit about the debt? It's a non sequitur. The problem is jobs. The problem is taxes. The problem is the haves versus the have. No, it's not left, right, or center, or whatever you want to call it. So the fact that he actually spoke truth to power on the air on MSNBC is quite shocking.
And with that, without further ado, I'm going to share with you the 4 clips that I've cut up out of this rant from Dylan. It's basically the entire rant. I just broke it up into 4 separate pieces so you wouldn't have to listen to an entire 2-minute long piece of this. So I've got a couple minutes of this that I want to run through real quick so you get to hear the rant in its full. And here we go. Here's clip 1. This is Dylan Ratigan on MSNBC.
I'm saying we've got a real problem, and I'm tired of Republicans and Democrats who either want Republicans who want to burn the place to the ground, and Democrats, with all due respect, who want to offer a plan that gets it through their end of their second term of their presidency and then screws me and my kids when it's over. And until we do that, we have to deal with the extraction that is at foot. It is the reason the financial markets are behaving the way they're behaving. That is a mathematical fact. This is not some opinion. This is a mathematical fact. Tens of trillions of dollars are being extracted from the United States of America. Democrats aren't doing it. Republicans are not doing it. An entire integrated system, financial system, trading system, taxing system that was created by both parties over a period of 2 decades is at work on our entire country right now. And we're sitting here arguing about whether we should do the $4 trillion plan that kicks the can down the road for the president for 2017 or burn the place to the ground, both of which are reckless, irresponsible, and stupid.
I have to throw in the mention of the White Castle clip. Come on, Pookie, we're going to burn this motherfucker down. I just when he said that, I'm like, yeah, we're going to burn it down. I think the most important part of that clip and this next clip, which I'm going to, well, let me play the second clip, then I'm going to make my point.
And the fact of the matter is that there's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking, it's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation. And there's not a single politician that has stepped forward to deal with it.
And the most important part that I get out of that, and I want both of you guys to comment on this, the most important piece I get out of that is it's both the Democratic and the Republican Party not doing a damn thing about it.
It's the system, man. It really is. I mean, if you look at it, they're playing within a flawed system. And how do you get reelected? You raise billions of dollars, and who are you going to get the money from? The quote I heard that's most appropriate in this situation is the fact that the Democratic Party, starting with Bill Clinton, courts Wall Street for donations for campaign finance as assiduously as the Republican Party does big oil, big coal, and the military-industrial complex. And that's how they got to be reelected in '92 after how many years of no Democratic presidents. So what do you think, Justin?
As much as I love politics, you just have to realize that, government would be a lot better without politics. And that's
I'm all about
that's the sad part of it.
I mean,
if you look up at the average schedule of any congressional lawmaker, there are way too many hours spent over at DNC or RNC headquarters, huddled in a little booth and dialing for dollars. And just if there's some kind of solution that could take that away,
publicly financed elections,
that would be one of them, of course. Or just the promise that lawmakers would not be able to work for certain lobbies after they
eliminate the revolving door.
There needs to be some kind of system to take the money out of politics, or just to take the just to clean up our system just a little bit.
What? Get money out of politics?
Small cosmetic changes would be so wonderful. If we just limited terms to 1 or 2, we would have probably about 30% of lawmakers who would not be campaigning for that election coming up. That would be a drastic change.
Except the fact that you still have the revolving door, and what they would be doing was they would be lobbyists the second they walk out the door for whoever they've,
No, that's a fair point. So it needs to be a two-punch solution. But
there's multiple.
There's no silver
phases.
bullet.
No,
we're too. We're too wrapped up into a status quo.
I would disagree. I think there is a beautiful silver bullet. I think, and both of you just touched on it. It's called getting money out of politics. And guess who elaborated on getting money out of politics in his mad as hell rant on MSNBC last week?
Let's hear it.
Who?
I would like him to go to the people of the United States of America and say, people of the United States of America, your Congress is bought. Your Congress is incapable of making legislation on health care, banking, trade, or taxes, because if they do it, they will lose their political funding, and they won't do it. But I'm the President of the United States, and I won't have a country that is run by a bought Congress. So I'm not going to work with a bought Congress and try to be Mr. Big Guy. I'm working with the bought Congress. I'm going to abandon the bought Congress like Teddy Roosevelt did, and I'm going to go to the people of the United States, and I'm going to say, you've got a bought Congress.
Definitely speaking to, I know one of your favorite points, Scott, is not necessarily working inside of the system, though we do have to maintain some of those points, but working outside of the system is the way to go.
Right. We no longer have movement politics. I mean, all the correctives in history have come from outside the structures of power. Civil rights movement, suffragist movement, the labor movement. They all come from outside of power because power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts? Absolutely. Right.
Hey.
And so right now, you're looking at the system is so far gone, we cannot depend on it to reform itself. So, I mean, until we have serious campaign finance reform, to place faith in electoral politics is extremely naive and dangerous.
I got one more Dylan Radigan clip, and then I got some other clips from real economists that we want to share with you to keep the economy topic going, because it's obviously top of the mind.
It's the economy, stupid.
Okay, here's the last clip from Dylan Radigan wrapping up his mad as hell moment. Thank you, Dylan, for doing this for us.
And until we get rid of the bought Congress, which is Jimmy Williams' constant point, which is get the money out of politics, and until a president says that's the problem and says he's going to fix it, there is no policy that I can possibly see, no matter how brilliant your idea may be, or your idea, or my idea, or her idea, or your idea at home is. That idea will not happen as long as there's the capacity to basically fire a politician who disagrees with me by taking funding away from him. Is that a fair assessment? How bad does it have to get?
How bad does it have to get? I'm going to say Great Depression bad.
Yes, it has to get so bad. I was just having this conversation with a really good friend of mine who I do want to give a very special quick mention to her in Portland. For Carmen, who just went through a surgery today, really good friend of mine, and I want to say I hope all is well and you're getting better. And everybody in chat, keep Carmen in your thoughts and fast recovery for you. But I was just having a conversation with my friend Carmen last week about how, discussing economics and all these things going on, and her take on it was very, and she doesn't watch the news as news junkies or political junkies as we are, and her take on it is very simple, and I think her take speaks for the majority of the people in the United States, and that is they are not aware and they do not care until it personally affects them. And that goes right back to what you just said, Scott. How bad does it have to get? It has to get so bad that the personal affliction of the that is happening is
yeah, you have to be able to not feed yourself. I mean, people, you have to be able to be thrown out of your house, not be able to afford to put gas in your car, not be able to afford, all the luxuries. And it comes down to the fact, okay, we lose luxuries, we can live with our day-to-day routine. Well, when you start losing your bread and butter and your basic necessities of life, then you get pissed off. And unfortunately, we have an ever-expanding poverty level of people, falling out of the middle class and falling into those situations. And those people are aware of it. But we have a large middle class and a large upper middle class who, they cut back on their lattes. They don't go to Starbucks every day, but they're still freaking living in McMansions and driving BMWs. And so they're not suffering enough. And quite frankly, they are the intelligentsia. They are the ones in the upper liberal class that campaign, vote for, and give the largest donations to people like Barack Obama.
Yep.
So,
any thoughts, News Gladiator? I'm just curious what you're thinking.
Stuff sucks. No, I got no thoughts on this. Come back to me.
No, that's fine. Chime in whenever you want. But
dumbass.
I've got to give mad props, and I'm gonna have to hook up with Shano and get some more Beavis and Butthead clips on the show. does. Every time he plays Beavis and Butthead, I about crap my pants laughing so hard. Now that I've shared too much information, I want to, and these clips got out of order, so I don't really know what order I wanted to start these with, but I have a couple of clips for you that we want to share, staying on economics. The first clip is from Richard D. Wolff. Now, I played a couple of clips from Professor Wolff last week, and I really didn't explain who or what Professor Wolff is and does, and so I wanted to clear that up with you first of all. Richard D. Wolff is a professor of economics at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, where he taught economics from 1973 until 2008. He's been doing this since 1973, by the way. He's currently a visiting professor in the graduate program in the International Affairs of the New School University of New York City. Has a bachelor's in history from Harvard. He has an MA in economics from Stanford and a PhD in economics from Yale. I think that pretty much sums up the fact that he's a real economist.
Yeah, and his website is rdwolf.org.
rdwolf.org. If you want real numbers from a real economist, not a politician who's trying to screw with you and get reelected in his next election run, because that's all that matters to these people anymore. Go check out Richard Wolff's site, and this is a clip explaining Capitalism 101, which what Scott was just talking about, how there is a really, really small group who have so much, and then there's this really, 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 really big group that has so little. And we all tend to fall in that really, really big group that has so little, and why that is. And he explains it like that. Listen to this.
When you work, you produce a surplus for the employer. You produce more for the employer than the employer pays you, and so he picks up that difference. That difference Marx called the surplus. In our modern society, we tend to call that by a different name, profit. It's the profit of business. It's what business is in business to get. There's a class of people in our economy and in all capitalist economies who produce more than they're paid for. The working class. And there's another class of people, the employers, who get that extra that the workers produce. And here's the thing. The class of employers is small, and the class of people producing the surplus is large. So the small group gets into their hands the surplus produced by a large group. That minority, who are employers, who get the surpluses produced by all the workers they hire, they're not stupid. They understand that if the majority of people are producing a surplus they don't get, and the minority of people are getting the surplus they don't help produce, you got a prescription for trouble. You don't need rocket science to grasp this.
Damn Ustream ads on my own show. Seriously. Did that explain it?
I think so.
Oh, why?
Profits over people. Are you losing touch over there, Jacob?
Yeah, I don't have your mic hot anymore. What happened to your mic?
I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Alrighty then. It's called Profits Over People.
Okay. Sorry, bear with us here. Minor.
We are experiencing technical difficulties.
Very, very minor technical difficulties. Keyword there, minor.
Just while we're talking about wealth inequality, what really came out today with the Warren Buffett article that really kind of made it into a lot of news programs was the data for how few Americans really make over $200,000. According to IRS data that was sort of unearthed today, only about 3% of Americans make over that magic number. And, there are even fewer who make over 1 million. That's about 0.2% of the population. And the fact that they have that and that they are sort of the untouchables in this political system and have been given the sort of holy job creator status is a little bizarre that they're able to...
Well, on that note, I think it's really telling that, I mean, what is Warren Buffett's quote? He says, our leaders asked for shared sacrifice, but they did not, when they did the asking, they spared me. Mm-hmm. He says, I used to check with my mega rich friends to learn what kind of pain they were expecting, and none of them seem to be worried about anything because they're not going to be touched by this. So obviously it's class warfare, and we have a government that works of, by, and for the very wealthy, and not just little wealthy, the very, very wealthy. He
also added in an article in today's New York Times, Warren Buffett, that while the poor and the middle class fight for us in Afghanistan, and while most Americans struggle to make ends meet, the mega rich continue to get extraordinary tax breaks. It's
not even part of the conversation. I mean, in the whole debt deal, which is a freaking joke to begin with, the military was never discussed, and neither was corporate taxes and or the taxes on the very wealthy. So, I mean, you really only had cuts, and where are we going to cut? You know, how much and where? That's really the discussion. So it's really a false, again, it's a false discussion. I mean, as we all know, government spending is essential. The stimulus was very ineffective because it was way inefficient. We had, the stimulus that we got was what, $700 billion, when it should have been something like $4 trillion? And so it doesn't even cover, it doesn't begin to cover. So, and the problem with that is Obama went on the air and said it worked, which is a fucking lie. It didn't work because it wasn't big enough. And so if he said it worked, then why do we have another one since it obviously didn't?
Not only that, but we forget that a majority or a portion of that bailout was tax breaks to the rich.
No, most of it, 70%.
Right. So
it wasn't even a stimulus. It was called a stimulus. What it really was just slashing and tax cuts.
Also going into that, there's so much economic mythology that the president has bought into within the past year. You know, the idea that tax breaks help create jobs, the idea that, you know, ending the Bush-era tax cuts would create uncertainty for businesses, like they're going to take their ball and go home. These are all things that history have, you know, proven to be demonstrably false. But he still goes along with as if it's, you know, the weird cult-like religion that the Republican Party makes it out to be.
Well, yeah, look who his economic team is. I mean, he's got Goldman Sachs. His entire economic team is Wall Street. He doesn't have any legitimate. There's no Paul Krugman, no Robert Reich, no Nora Rubini. I mean, we can name umpteen Keynesian economics, which is your basic level economics. And Obama has supply-side economists. And so he's literally reliving the Ronald Reagan dream.
Brilliant point, Scott, because I have a clip from another economist here who we also played on last week's show. And again, I didn't reference who he was or his website or anything. So I do want to clear that up immediately right now. Michael Hudson is also a real economist. He's the president of the Institute of the Study of Long-Term Economic Trends. Long-term economics. Wow, that's something you don't hear us discuss ever anymore. He's also was a Wall Street financial analyst, so he has played with the big boys and has been there and done that. Distinguished research professor of economics, at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, been there, done that. And author of most recently Super Imperialism, the Economic Strategy of the American Empire. His website, michael-hudson.com, M-I-C-H-A-E-L horizontal dash Hudson, Hudson.com, michaelhudson.com. Go check him out. He's on all of the progressive shows, etc. I was on Amy Goodman not too long ago. Here is a clip of Michael Hudson touching on exactly what you just touched on, Scott. Perfect. Who is in Obama's economics team right now, and where are we headed soon? Russia.
Basically, if you want to see our future, look at what happened in Russia under Yeltsin. Larry Summers, Geithner, the whole Clinton Rubinomics team is now in charge of our financial policy here. And they are just as right-wing as the European financial managers. They know that the game is up, and they're trying to grab as much public money as they can before people stop them from grabbing. And they're not trying to help the economy at all. They're trying to help themselves.
Yeah, it's sort of like we drove the economy into the ditch, and now we're going to pilfer what's left of it before it crashes completely.
God helps those who help themselves.
Yeah.
I think there was a very minute call to action in there, which I definitely picked up on, and I don't know if you picked up on it, but I want to maybe I can skip ahead and just play this one more time in this clip. Just listen to this.
And they're trying to grab as much public money as they can before people stop them from.
Or people stop them from grabbing everything.
Who are the people who are supposed to be stopping the people who are grabbing things?
It's not us. Or is it?
Or is it? Who is going to step up? Who is going to do something about it?
Right. I mean, obviously the government's not going to do anything because in order to get reelected, you have to court Wall Street and get their money. So it's really left up to the people to be engaged in civics. Politics is a dirty word, and we need more civics.
What's the old cliche about diapers and politicians both needing to be changed frequently for the same reasons?
Because they're both full of shit?
Yes, thank you. Hey, where's my rim shot? I don't have it ready. Do it live. Fuck it. All right. I've got a couple more clips here that I want to share with you before we hit the break. And if I don't get too mixed up here, this is going back to we played a clip first from Richard D. Wolff. Here's another clip from Richard Wolff on moving forward with our current economic status and how we're basically headed down again. So get ready.
Government office after government office are saying publicly what used to be only a few of us saying. The economic recovery that everybody talked about is stalling, is shrinking. Everywhere you see the evidence. And at least 4 of the major analysts that I looked at, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, and the Bank of America Merrill Lynch, every single one of them has lowered their forecasts for the second quarter and for the second half of this year. Whatever recovery we had, and most of us missed it, it's over, and the economic prospects are turning down again.
Right.
I have to mention what Uttermutter just mentioned in the chat room. We are the people our government warned us about.
You think we are the doctors, we are the disease.
We have to be our own salvation, says Will from Chicago. Absolutely. That's the purpose of this program.
Right. You can't place faith in dead institutions because institutions are there to protect themselves.
Yep.
And so right now we have a bunch of corrupt institutions. We no longer have the progressive redress grievances we once had. Not the unions, not frickin' the Democratic Party, not even our public institutions. I mean, look at the education system. People are being taught to do tasks. They're not taught critical thinking skills anymore. God forbid. And of course, they go back to even the church. The church has allowed all this to happen. I mean, these heretics, like Rick Perry, is a heretic. You know, this guy put more people to death than even George Bush as a governor. One governor in the United States history to put more people to death, and he calls himself a Christian.
Later in the program, probably in the second hour, we are going to take down Rick Perry's entire presidential campaign for 2012 in less than 20 seconds, and I've got the clip to do that. But first, before we go to break, I've got one more clip to share with you, which is going to segue us from the topic that we're currently on, economics, into the topic that we're going to come back from in the break. This is Miss Michelle Bachmann.
Extending the payroll tax cut, was that something you could support?
I think what we need to do is to cut government spending right now.
Right, but I'm asking you about the payroll tax cut. Would you extend that?
I think what we need to focus on more than anything is what will lead to job creation. And what will lead to job creation is taking the United States down from about the top corporate tax rate in the world at 34% down to something that is far more competitive.
What about extending jobless benefits for people who are out of work? Do you think that's a necessary step?
I think it would be very difficult for us to do because we frankly don't have the money. I mean, that's the bottom line in the United States. We are now, according to Mark Stein, he wrote a book called After America, and in his book he says we are the brokest nation in history. He said we have gone from being the biggest creditor nation to the biggest debtor nation in a very short period of time.
So no on extending jobless benefits?
Right now, I don't think we can afford it.
So let's not answer the question directly. Let's dance around it.
Well, it's shocking to me how Michelle Bachmann, specifically Michelle Bachmann, can sit there and say, we don't have money to help the people who need it the most when we're giving all of the money that we have to the people who need it the least.
And we're not giving enough, apparently.
And also the bullshit about the corporate tax rate. I mean, yeah, we have a pretty high corporate tax rate, but if you look at the amount of loopholes that we have, if you look at the amount of exit strategies we give the corporations that come here or that do business here, we're pretty fucking low.
Yeah, Exxon paid 0 taxes last year. So did Pepsi.
And on that point, I'm happy you chimed in, Justin, because when we come back from the break, we're going to talk to Justin, who was live in Iowa for the straw poll and the gathering at Ames. We're going to talk to Justin, get his take on that, and more from Michelle Bachmann and what she had to say there. Don't go anywhere. We've got lots more great stuff coming up on Filter Free Radio. I am your host, Jacob Dean, and two special super secret guests who are going to be on the program in our second hour. I'm pretty sure you can't wait to find out who that might be. Have you been waiting for a show that gives you the real news you need to know? Have you been waiting for a show that reports the truth and isn't afraid to call it as it is? I've been waiting for that show too, and it's not coming from the mainstream media. It's not coming from the bought and sold corporate media. It's not coming from the news networks that only look out for profits and their bottom lines. They all speak through filters. That's why you need filter-free news. That's why you need filter-free radio. Filter-free radio is your new news headquarters for exactly what's going on and just exactly what we need to do about it. We must move forward. Move forward with us. Filter-free radio, live Mondays 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern on the Ustream home of Nicole Sandler, radioornot.com, and the all-new filterfreeradio.com.
My name is Chris Hedges, and I'm going to Washington, D.C. on October 6th, 2011, because civil disobedience is the only weapon we have left to save not only the ecosystem that sustains life, but the nation itself. Corporate forces, unregulated, unfettered corporate forces, exploit everything, human beings, the natural world, until exhaustion or collapse. Karl Marx was right. Unregulated, unfettered capitalism is a revolutionary force, and it is the radicals who have seized control and know no limits. The only thing corporations, the only word corporations know is more, and they have seized all of the formal, traditional mechanisms of power, the legislative branch, the judicial branch, the executive branch, as well as the attendant institutions that once made participatory democracy possible, including the press, including a destruction of labor, a diminishing and degradation of a public education system that once made it possible for citizens to discern and articulate their own interests. It is imperative that all of us now stand up because we have very little time left. The ecosystem itself is being ravaged at a rate that was not even predicted a few years ago by the best climate scientists. We don't have much time left. The internal reconfiguration of the United States into a form of neo-feudalism, a world of masters and serfs, a world where 2/3 of the country will live at a level of subsistence, where they will struggle to provide enough food for their families to eat, is the inevitable result of the corporate state and globalization. It is imperative upon all of us to begin to realize that the institutions that we once trusted, including the Democratic Party, to watch out for our interests, have become nothing more than puppets, appendages of the corporate state. We are the last thin line of defense between the disintegration of our country, between corporate forces which in theological terms are systems of death, who will snuff out any possibility of a sustainable and livable future for our children. It is only by standing up, using our bodies in acts of civil disobedience, that we have any hope of thwarting the freight train of destruction that is now barreling towards us, driven by the engine of corporatism. And so I call upon all of you, please. It's not about us anymore. It's about our kids. It's about our kids' kids. It's about our failure to stand up and protect the earth and protect the nation from forces that will inevitably, if we do not stop them, make life for millions and millions of people a nightmare.
'Twas 10 o'clock on election eve, and the folks were gathered round the TV, as we humans do, to see what's going down, when a rush of ads and infomercials sealed the ruination of the candidate with a healthy fear of corporate domination. It seems he fathered an illegal alien a couple years ago, and the socialists and gays and Muslims give him all his dough. And he really wants to tax you to death and to kill your granny too. It's saying that on the TV, so by God it must be true. Thank God for the Supreme Court, modest and high-minded sort, never would rule us from the bench, hit us with a monkey wrench, except when it comes to appointing a president for a democratic nation. Or handing elections over now to monster corporations. Yeah, these justices respect whatever the founders had in mind, except the part about keeping corporations very much in line. They used to be limited partnerships with a very limited reach, but now, by God, they're people with tender feelings and free speech. Thank God for the Supreme Court, modest and high-minded sort, never would rule us from the bench, hit us with a monkey wrench, except when it comes to appointing a president for a democratic nation. Or handing elections over to monster corporations. Thank God for the Supreme Court, modest and high-minded sort, never would rule us from the bench, hit us with a monkey wrench, except when it comes to appointing a president for a democratic nation, or handing elections over to big old friendly corporations.
So can I get you gentlemen something more to drink? Or maybe something to nibble on? Some pizza shooters, shrimp poppers, or extreme fajitas?
Just coffee.
Okay. Sounds like a case of the Mondays.
Uh-oh. Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Let me ask you something. When you come in on Monday and you're not feeling real well, does anyone ever say to you, sounds like someone has a case of the Mondays?
No. No, man. Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
And welcome back to Filter Free Radio. My name is Jacob Dean. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Your cure for a case of the Mondays. What do you think? No? We're definitely going to play some more Office Space quotes for you. Those are great. I love that. And the song that you just heard was Thank God for the Supreme Court. That's by Jim Turr. And I want you to go check out his website where all of his music is available for you for free. That is BlueCanyonProductions.com. Blue Canyon Productions, Jim Turr. What a brilliant musician and artist. And all of his stuff, like I mentioned, is free. And go check it out, BlueCanyonProductions.com. Let me know what you think. If you find a really good political satire song that you like and you think I should play it, let me know. You can email me, jacob@filterfreeradio.com. And please go, please go check out our brand new website with a million thanks to Shano, super duper webmaster producer. Shano put together filterfreeradio.com for me. Go check it out. Let me know what you think of the site. There's a filter-free forum where you can make blog posts and write comments and all that stuff. I would love nothing more than you to go check out the website and let us know what you think, so I can let Shane know that he is freaking awesome, which he is, which I don't need to let him know. But before I digress too far, I want to rein myself back in a little bit. And right before the break, I had mentioned a very interesting idea. Well, not an idea, but an interesting bit. That Justin, our news gladiator of the program, was live in Iowa. Justin, when did you go to Iowa?
I was in Iowa earlier this week, and let me tell you, Iowa is the best place of all time. It is hard not to have fun there.
That sounded sincere.
Oh, man, seriously, non-stop partying, so many hookers, so much blow. It was...
a Republican Party, right?
Yeah, it was the greatest thing I've ever...
Hey-o.
No, Iowa was
Really?
flat and had a lot of corn, but it was actually kind of fun. They had a state fair, which was one of the most surreal things I've ever seen.
Did you get the deep fried butter?
We looked for the deep fried butter. We could not find the deep fried butter, but we did ask people who had tried the deep fried butter, and they said it was sort of like cheese curds or deep fried cheese, but less flavorful.
Ugh.
So that was from their professional gourmet opinion.
And so were you in Ames or were you in Des Moines or?
We were in Ames, and then we flipped back to Des Moines the next day for the state fair to see the candidate meet and greet pimp out session.
Yeah, the soapbox.
The whoring. Okay, interesting. So I have a little bit of news and a little explanation. Let me fire up my news music here. This is why Michelle Bachmann, who I want to show you a picture right now of Michelle.
from the State Fair.
This is a picture of Michelle Bachmann from the State Fair. Exit polls taken after the Iowa straw poll may hold the key to explaining the contestants' surprising results, as a majority of Iowans said they thought they were voting for Batman, not Bachmann. But by a wide margin, Iowans were under the impression that they were casting votes for the Caped Crusader. Makes perfect sense, right? Well, in unrelated news, calling the results of the Iowa straw poll alarming, Standard & Poor's took the unprecedented action of downgrading Iowa's IQ. While the efforts of such an extraordinary measure are hard to predict, experts say the IQ downgrade could result in Iowans having difficulty completing sentences or operating a television remote. This downgrade would be very upsetting to Republicans in Iowa, said an S&P spokesman. Fortunately, there's no way they'll ever understand it. The winner in the straw poll, Michelle Bachmann, who you do see on screen right now, gave a very intense victory speech that was simulcast in English across the state. But there may be tough sledding ahead for Rep. Bachmann, as a new poll shows her losing support to Texas Governor Rick Perry among voters who describe themselves as morons. Governor Perry kicked off his presidential campaign in South Carolina over the weekend, unveiling a new stump in speech which he promised to repeal the 20th century. No, not so much, not funny. Wow.
Oh, they really do want to go back to the 13th century.
That's enough of the porn dog. I have to credit Kenny Pick on that picture.
Come on, put it back up. Put it back up.
He sent that, or he posted that on the Facebook this morning, and I saw that, and I about fell over out of my chair laughing so hard.
To be fair, it's hard to eat a corn dog and look good. You know?
Yeah, it's a phallic symbol. What are you gonna do?
It's a difficult situation.
Oh my goodness. Where is my? Okay, perfect. So yeah, just wrapping up Iowa's. Did you have a good time? Did you learn anything, Justin? Was it beneficial? What was like the general atmosphere? I mean, what was it? Just a PR butt kissing Republican fest, or I mean, was there anything worth grasping?
Well, it really is interesting to see how the actual Iowa system works out. You see candidates who, if you were to see them at CPAC or to see them at any other, D.C. location, would be swarmed by, political groupies trying to sniff their throne. Whereas in Iowa, we saw, candidates like Rick Santorum just kind of walking around without anybody paying attention to him, or kind of trying to avert eye contact.
Oh, yeah.
Rick, don't Google my name, man on dog Santorum.
Exactly.
Well, I want to talk. The reason I wanted to bring up Iowa just for a minute is because that gives me an opportunity to play. I think this is the first time we've ever premiered the "You're Full of Shit" alert on Filter Free Radio. So if this is the first time, I can't recall if this is the first time or not. But the world premiere of "You're So Full of Shit."
I got a crap on deck that could choke a donkey.
Partner, come on, you gotta relax. Don't force it. Get a blow out your O-ring. Drop a lung.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast? No.
This coffee smells like shit.
It is shit, Austin.
Oh, good, then it's not just me.
You're so full of shit. 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 You're so full of shit.
I love that. I just love that. Yes, the first ever full of shit alert goes to none other than Mitt Romney speaking at the Iowa thing, the straw poll gathering. You know what he said? He said corporations are people. Here's the clip.
If we are ultimately, not just this year, but over the coming decades, going to be able to balance our budget and not spend more than we take in, we have to make sure that the promises we make in Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare are promises we can keep. And there are various ways of doing that. One is we could raise taxes on people. That's not the way. Corporations are people, my friend. We can raise taxes on. Of course they are. Everything corporations earn ultimately goes to people. So, where do you think it goes? What? Whose pockets? Whose pockets? People's pockets. Okay, human beings, my friend.
My friend, how condescending.
Right. We all know what that basically means.
It means fuck you.
Exactly. That's filter free.
Yeah, I mean that's what he's saying.
Absolutely, and I want to play this clip also. Ron Paul, who is the fringed, never taken seriously libertarian candidate, who almost always wins these polls. He always wins the CPAC poll. Michelle Bachmann only won the straw poll by 152 points. 152 points. Not that means anything, but Ron Paul almost beat her again. And Scott Keyes of Think Progress, thinkprogress.org. Go check out that website. It's a brilliant website. Scott Keyes caught up with Ron Paul in Iowa over the weekend and asked him, what do you think of Mitt Romney's statement that corporations are people?
What did you make of Mitt Romney's statements that corporations are people yesterday?
Well, obviously, they're not. People are individuals, they're not groups, and they're not companies.
I know it's pretty hard to hear that. Ron Paul says, quote, obviously they're not. People are individuals, they are not groups, they are not companies, end quote. Bam. Corporations are not freaking people. Anyways, now while Justin was in Iowa, we were able to get a few, we went around random, it's called
Question the crowd.
Yeah, it's
Man on the street, yeah.
Man on the street. In radio, it's called a vox pop, if you give a crap about the radio terminology. But, we asked a few people, do you actually think corporations are people? I mean, really? Here's what we found.
Do you think he was right that corporations are people?
No, you can't define them the same way. That's a ridiculous notion.
Do you think corporations are people?
Well, I mean, no. Gracious no.
Well, yesterday, Mitt Romney stood up on the hay bale and said that corporations are people. Do you think he's right?
Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
Okay, I'm kidding. That last one.
I love Office Space.
Yes, that last one was not real. No. But yeah, the general consensus of the crowd is corporations aren't people.
Well, it's lunacy.
And why should a corporation have the same rights as us? It's beyond me. But
without having the death penalty,
or all of the other penalties that human beings have.
Right.
I mean, a human being cannot own one of its own kind. We outlawed that. It's called slavery. Corporations do it on a daily basis. It's called a merger.
Right. Well, the interesting thing about corporations, too, is the structure is a hierarchy. It's an oligarchy.
Well, they are people. They're better people.
Yeah, they are better than the rest of us.
But really, well, Romney said, like, the idea, corporations, the money goes to the corporations and goes to people's pockets. As somebody who's a CEO, I'm not sure if he's just incredibly ignorant or if he is, willfully twisting the truth there. But he, of all people, should know that, they are currently sitting on, I believe, 5.9 trillion or some exorbitant number like that.
Yeah, somewhere around 4 trillion.
Yeah, so some ridiculous number of more money than we can comprehend. They are sitting on instead of delivering it to the pockets of the people, or
even putting it back in the company to build the company. They're just stockpiling cash because they know the shit's going to hit the fan soon, and they want to be ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really are just hoarding money.
I mean, if they are the job creators, why do we have such a bad unemployment, and why do they have so much money?
And this is from the candidate who has a business background. So it really just it begs the question: is he full of shit? Which I guess this shows that he does, or is he a total liar? It's
or both.
Or both. Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe that most politicians believe most of the shit that comes out of their mouth.
Well, speaking of lots of shit coming out of people's mouths, I have the top 10 things that Rick Perry doesn't want you to know about him, which is some pretty juicy bits. And again, I point you to thinkprogress.org, brilliant website. I check it every single morning. Let's just tear these apart, guys, for the last 10 minutes before we hit our break here. The number one thing, well, I guess I'll start at number 10. I don't know how does Letterman do these things? I'm not good with lists.
Number 10.
Number 10. Despite having the worst uninsured rate in the country, Rick Perry claims that Texas has the best health care in the country.
Really?
Well, don't they all?
Of course.
Of course they are.
It's always
well, so does America. We have the best healthcare in the world.
If you can afford it.
Yeah.
The What was I going to mention? Okay, yeah. Moving on. Number 9. Rick Perry said that Texas might have to secede from the United States.
I think they should, because Texas is the largest beneficiary of federal funds.
I would be down for that, and I would like to see Rick Perry run for the CSA.
Yeah, because quite frankly, they would just get invaded by Mexico, and Mexico can have them back, as far as I'm concerned.
Remember the Alamo? They lost, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if I've ever divulged this on the program, but I hold Texas in a very near and dear place in my heart. Half of my family is from West Texas, and as
hey, we all got redneck relatives.
And I love them very much. But it's. And whenever I have these conversations with people, it's a pure case of misinformation. It's very simple. It's misinformation, and it's human tendency to not think that you're wrong. I mean, when you're confronted by someone, your first instinct is to be like, "I'm right, you're wrong." That's just natural human instinct.
Yeah, my favorite quote is from John K. Galbraith. He said, "In the choice between changing one's mind and proving there is no need to do so, most people get busy on the proof."
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I'm a little scared that you're part Texan, though. That has ruined my perception of you forever.
And now we have so much to talk about in hour 2 of the program. No. Number 8, Rick Perry is a stimulus hypocrite who loudly criticized federal recovery money but used it to balance his own state budget. Now that is when the national budget crashed, everything the collapse in 2008, 2009. Perry repeatedly went off on how he was cutting spending, and I watched the speech he gave on Fox over the weekend where he announced his run for the presidency, saying, I balanced my state's budget. I balanced my state's budget. Yeah, you used federal money to do it.
Right, you had a bailout.
Right.
He actually used the bailout.
Right.
Which is a complete half-truth.
Right.
Love those half-truths.
Continuing on, in the top 10 things that Rick Perry does not want you to know about him, number 7, Rick Perry was a strong supporter of Texas's anti-sodomy laws. Any comments on that one, guys? We'll move on.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Moving on. Number 6, Rick Perry gutted child care services even as Texas childhood poverty hit 25%.
Yeah. Well,
but I mean, were they fetuses or children? There's a huge difference.
They're the same.
I love
Life
you
begins
guys.
at conception. Didn't you know
that? Number 5, top 10 things Rick Perry does not want you to know about him. Perry designed. Perry designated as emergency legislation a bill requiring all women seeking abortions to have sonograms first.
That's sick.
It's not only is it sick, but it made the top 10 list.
Just remember, Rick Perry is George W. Bush's deputy governor.
Thank you. I love how nobody remembers what happens when a Texas governor becomes president. Did everybody forget that? Really?
Did Rick Perry have to meet the parents of the people they executed, or see them die, or did he have to put in the lethal injection? Just curious.
No.
Being personally, I think the environment is one of my nearest and dearest topics to my heart. I'm a big environmentalist, and I love this earth that we all share, and I do everything that I can to make it a better earth for tomorrow. But number 4 on Rick Perry's list, which grinds my gears, is Texas is the country's biggest polluter, but Rick Perry sued the federal government for disapproving of the state's air quality standards.
Can you do that? You can sue the federal government from the state? I didn't know you could do that.
He it doesn't say if he won or not.
I can't imagine why I would.
But that's ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous. Okay, and now the top 3 things that Rick Perry does not want you to know about him. Excuse me. Number 3, Rick Perry proposed letting states drop out of Social Security and Medicaid. Why not? Freedom of choice, laissez-faire, do what you want. Fuck it. It's ridiculous. This is it's upsetting. Number 2, Rick Perry wants to repeal the 16th and 17th Amendments, ending direct election of U.S. senators and the federal income tax.
Oh, wow, no federal income tax.
Think about it.
Right.
What happens if we no longer elect U.S. senators?
They go back to the old way, where they're nominated in the back rooms.
They are appointed.
Appointed. Well, that's what I'm saying. Through cronyism. I mean, it was only the election of senators was only a recent. It only happened in the last 50 years or 70 years of our country.
Right.
It wasn't that long ago. I'm not sure the date.
Right. So if you think if it's bad now, it's only going to get worse. Don't vote Rick Perry. I'll just finish off the list. The number one thing that Rick Perry does not want you to know about him: Rick Perry allowed the execution of a likely innocent man and then impeded an investigation into the matter in 2004.
Yeah, that's not illegal.
Well, for the children or something. Sharia law.
Okay, enough about Rick Perry. It makes my head hurt.
Yeah, it's another symptom of the disease.
Broaden it, my friend. Broaden it for us. What's the big...
Well, how else do you get somebody like that in power unless he's a complete toady?
Here's the scary thing. He's going to win. I mean, this until very recently was a race between Bachmann and Romney, and now we have somebody who appeals to the worser instincts of both of their supporters. He can woo over the people who are impressed by, Romney's executive experience, no matter how bullshit it may be. But he also has enough of the, the craziness to win over the scary, ugly Tea Party people.
Well, yeah, he's got God on his side. You can't run against God.
And, despite the fact that he really didn't do that much for Texas, and a lot of it is smoke and mirrors, it is a really prevalent myth that continues to exist. And if the economy continues to get worse, voters are going to be looking for somebody who...
Demagogue.
Who can demagogue on it, or somebody who can at least point to phony economic recovery, and that is going to benefit Rick Perry over Obama.
Just to step back for a second, the ratification of the 17th Amendment was in 1913. Prior to that, senators were appointed.
Right.
So it's been a little less than 100 years.
Right. And, touching back on what you just said, Scott, it's very simple. When you have people who get up in front of the Republican straw poll gathering in Iowa and say corporations are people, corporations are people, who do you think is paying him to say that? Do you think it's the people?
Yeah, we're not paying him to say that. Well, and who's he pandering to other than campaign donors?
Right.
So,
which he has done pretty well so far. He has a pretty impressive war chest. He is going to buy the primary and could buy the election.
It's all about the money, baby. It's all about the money. Well, on that note, we are nearing the end of the first hour of the program, and it has flown by so fast. We have a lot coming up in the second hour, plus a couple of super secret, extra special guests, the first real guests ever on Filter Free Radio, and I'm so excited to have them on the program, and it's going to be a treat. I know you're going to be excited, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I know the first hour is really dense, and we're going to lighten it up and have a little bit of fun and mess around. And also, but wait, there's more. I forgot what
the reality is not funny, man. It's dark and it's dead. It's sad. Well, you got to laugh at it.
Yeah, we're doing our best. Thank you, Scott. We're doing our best. I tell you what, Justin, you might stick around for another hour hanging out with us?
Yeah, sure.
During the conversation? Great. When we come back, it will be myself, host Jacob Dean of Filter Free Radio. Thank you so much for hanging out. My co-host Scott, I forgot your title, News Gladiator. Justin's with us, and our very special guests who are going to be with us. The first guests ever. Am I ready? Am I going to be able to handle a guest on the program? I don't know. I'm having a hard enough time running the hamster wheel, so we'll see. We'll be right back on Filter Free Radio. Don't go anywhere. Hang out.
This is Jackson Brown, and you're listening to The Nicole Sandler Show.
This is Melissa Etheridge, and you're listening to my friend, Nicole Sandler.
Hey, this is Rob with Matchbox 20.
Hey, this is Chris Isaac.
Hi, this is Suzanne Vega.
Hey, this is Trey Anastasio, and you're listening to
my friend Nicole Sandler.
Bare Naked Ladies, you're listening to Nicole Sandler.
What's up? This is Howie Day, and you're listening to Nicole Sandler.
Hey, this is Henry.
And I'm JoJo. And I'm Ringo. And we're Los Lonely Boys, and you're listening to Nicole Sandler.
This is Kelly from Stereophonics, and you're listening to Nicole Sandler.
This is Evan Dando of the Lemonheads, and you're listening to Nicole
Sandler.
Hi, my name's Jonathan Brooke, and you're listening to Nicole Sandler.
This is Pat Monahan from the band Train, and you're listening to Nicole Sandler.
This is Ziggy Marley, and you're listening to Nicole Sandler.
Hey, this is Pete Yorn, and you're listening to Nicole Sandler.
The lovely Nicole Sandler.
Nicole Sandler. Don't you remember? Nicole is awesome.
The Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com. Music to my ears.
Workers Independent News. I'm Doug Cunningham.
The Communications Workers of America and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers have filed unfair labor practice charges against Verizon, charging that the company has refused to bargain in good faith. The unions want the NLRB to immediately order Verizon to negotiate in good faith as labor law requires. Some 45,000 CWA and IBEW Verizon workers have been on strike since August 7th. The highly profitable Verizon is demanding $1 billion in concessions, $20,000 per working family there. Verizon has gotten court injunctions in several states that limit picketing. Bill Huber is business manager of IBEW Local 827, one of the striking locals at Verizon.
It's clear to myself and the other leaders of the unions that what Verizon is attempting to do is just break the unions.
Huber says Verizon is not merely asking for a bigger contribution to health care costs. It's gutting 50 years of collective bargaining gains. And he says the American public should rally to the strikers' cause. Why? Because it's a battle in defense of the American middle class.
They're not interested in bargaining with us. They're not interested in compromise. They're interested in gutting. We're just on a path to destroy middle America. We need the public to reach out to their politicians and stop greedy companies like Verizon that make significant money here. Stop them from breaking the back of the middle class America. Because if they win, if they're successful at this, the United States, we're down the tubes. Because everybody else is going to follow this pattern.
The U.S. Postal Service is urging Congress to gut collective bargaining rights for postal workers so 120,000 workers can be laid off. The Postal Service cites a huge $8 billion deficit as the motive for its attack on workers, but a congressional mandate enacted in the Bush administration forces the Postal Service to pre-fund 75 years' worth of retiree health benefits. That mandate alone costs $5.5 billion a year, and it's imposed only on the Postal Service. Lifting that mandate or allowing pension surpluses to be applied to those retiree health benefits would wipe out the deficit and avoid the massive layoffs. Sally Davidow is a spokesperson for the American Postal Workers Union. She says this big lie that the postal deficit is a result of union workers is an effort to use the cover of a crisis for hostile action against workers, with privatization of the Postal Service the possible ultimate goal.
Certainly for some of these ultra-right-wing congressmen, I do think that is the goal. Clearly an attempt to take a crisis and try and use it to advance an ideological agenda that's hostile to workers. The same law that implemented the pre-funding requirement said the Postal Service could not raise prices over the rate of inflation. If you say they can't raise prices and then you give them a $5.5 billion bill every single year for 10 years, what's the effect going to be? It's going to destroy the Postal Service.
This newscast made possible in part by ULICO, the Union Labor Life Insurance Company, and by OPEIU, the Office and Professional Employees International Union. You've been listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. For more information, visit laborradio.org.
Earth, Sky.
Will global warming mean a wetter world? Earth Sky spoke with satellite researcher Frank Wentz, director of the company Remote Sensing Systems.
The one piece of the puzzle that I think we do understand well is that as the atmosphere warms, it can hold more water, and thus the water in the atmosphere increases with warming. Now, the more difficult question is how much of this additional water is going to turn into rain.
It's difficult to know, said Wentz, because it's not just the amount of water in the atmosphere that determines rain, but also how fast the atmosphere circulates around the globe. Climate models predict atmospheric circulation might slow down as the climate warms.
It's sort of like a conveyor belt, and even though the packets on the conveyor belt contain more water, if the conveyor belt slows down, then there'll be less rain.
Wentz talked about the NASA Aqua satellite. He said Aqua provides invaluable data on not just rainfall, but also the water vapor that comprises 99% of water in the air. Climate scientists use this data that satellites have been collecting for 30 years to improve their models.
And I think most scientists are confident that we will see more rain in the future, but exactly how much more and where it will occur are still unknowns.
Earth Sky is a clear voice for science.
We're at earthsky.org.
Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, W.E.B. Du Bois.
Standing in the driving rain, what are we doing here again? Singing these songs bittersweet.
Eugene Debs, Emma Goldman.
Songs of hope, songs of pain, calling for an end to chains, keeping this vigil in the street.
Joe Hill, Bill Haywood.
On down this road we go, it's the only road we know, and we call it the hard road to freedom.
Mother Jones, Mahatma Gandhi.
Reach out and take a hand, we all need some help to stand out here on this hard road to freedom.
Medgar Evers, Woody Guthrie.
One thing that I can see, freedom is never free. There's a price that we all have to pay.
Cheney, Schwerner, and Goodman.
For all religions, every race, every woman who can't show her face. For children under fire when they play.
Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Parks.
On down this road we go, it's the only road we know, and we call it the hard road to freedom.
Paul Robeson, Martin Luther King.
Reach out and take a hand, we all need some help to stand out here on this hard road to freedom.
Pete Seeger, Malcolm X.
The hard road to freedom is calling us home. It's long and it's winding and we're weary to the bone. So many wounded still standing alone. So many fall and leave their blood on the stones. Standing in the driving rain, what are we doing here again? Singing these songs bittersweet.
Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta.
Songs of hope, songs of pain, calling for an end to chains, keeping this vigil in the street.
Fred Korematsu, Leonard Peltier.
On down this road we go, it's the only road we know, and we call it the hard road to freedom.
Daniel Ellsberg, Nelson Mandela.
Reach out and take a hand, we all need some help to stand out here on this hard road to freedom. Here on this hard road to freedom.
Rachel Corrie, Amy Goodman, Bill Moyers, Cindy Sheehan, Bruce Coburn, Jon Stewart, Jim Hightower, Desmond Tutu, Michael Moore, Mumia Abu-Jamal, Medea Benjamin, Howard Zinn, Ron Kovics.
This is it. You're listening to Jacob Dean.
We have to deal with the extraction that is at foot. It is the reason the financial markets are behaving the way they're behaving. That is a mathematical fact. This is not some opinion. This is a mathematical fact.
We bring you the real stuff.
And the fact of the matter is that there's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking. It's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation. And there's not a single politician that has stepped forward to deal with it.
Streaming live on the web.
People of the United States of America, your Congress is bought. Your Congress is incapable of making legislation on health care, banking, trade, or taxes, because if they do it, they will lose their political funding, and they won't do it. But I'm the President of the United States, and I won't have a country that is run by a bought Congress. So I'm not going to work with a bought Congress and try to be Mr. Big Guy. I'm working with the bought Congress. I'm going to abandon the bought Congress like Teddy Roosevelt did.
You're listening to Jacob.
And I'm going to go to the people of the United States and I'm going to say, you've got a bought Congress. And until we get rid of the bought Congress, which is Jimmy Williams' constant point, which is get the money out of politics, and until a president says that's the problem and says he's going to fix it, there is no policy that I can possibly see, no matter how brilliant your idea idea may be, or your idea, or my idea, or her idea, or your idea at home.
This is it.
That idea will not happen as long as there's a capacity to basically fire a politician who disagrees with me by taking funding away from him. Is that a fair assessment?
That is a brilliant assessment. Dylan Radigan on MSNBC, calling it as it is, speaking the truth, calling him out. This is what we all need to be doing. I play that again for you to set an example of the truth of the filter-free truth that you're only going to hear here on filter-free radio. But the fact that nobody else is tapping into that, the fact that nobody else is really pushing that like Dylan was. Dylan had his own, mad as hell moment there, and I'm so happy that he did that. And speaking,
Keith Oatman had a good one too.
Yes, we used Keith's last week, and we will be continuing to do this. This is the second hour of Filter Free Radio. Please check us out on filterfreeradio.com. We are broadcasting live on radioornot.com, the home of Nicole Sandler. Thank you, Nicole. Nicole is the best ever. Check out her show. She is live Monday through Thursday right here on Ustream and on radioornot.com Monday through Thursday in the mornings. Check out Nicole. She is the bestest ever. And there are a few other shows on Radio or Not here on the program in the evenings. I host the Monday show, which is Filter Free Radio, which you are watching and listening to live right now. It is August 15th. It's 8 o'clock, 10 after. And in Eastern time, which I'm so not used to.
You're still on West Coast time.
I'm still on West Coast time, definitely. And so we do broadcast live. And during the rest of the week, on Tuesday and Friday nights, I want you to listen to my really good buddy, Kenny Pick. I pick Kenny Pick. Turn Up the Night. Kenny hosts a fantastic and very hilarious show. Where else are you going to get the Glenn Beck drinking game?
Yeah, you can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
Oh, you got me,
Love
Scott.
you, Kenny Pick.
You got me, Scott. I am joined by the way, by my fantastic co-host, Scott, Skeptical Scott.
That's Mr. Skeptic to you.
and our news gladiator,
Dr. Gladiator.
Dr. Gladiator.
Oh, my bad.
I totally butchered your intro the first time, and I haven't forgiven myself for that. Justin, buddy, how's it going? You having fun yet?
I am having more fun than you could possibly imagine.
For this hour, I've been teasing two very special guests, and they're joining us momentarily as soon as I can figure out how the hell to get this computer to work. And I'm gonna fart around with the computer for just a second. If you could do me a really big favor, Scott, and hit us with the solution. What is the solution? We spent this whole hour building up the problems, and this whole hour I want to bring on our two very special guests right now, and I want to discuss solutions. So I'm going to open the floor to you and Justin for just a second, and I'm going to put up the porn dog picture of Michelle Bachmann for just a second, so you don't see me scrambling while I'm scrambling behind the scenes to get our next guest on. So give us just a second.
Yeah, it's like my father keeps saying to me every time I try and talk to him about the problems in our society. He's like, I know things are fucked up. I understand the problems. What are we going to do about it? What are the solutions? And we don't have a dialogue in the mainstream media, and we, quite frankly, not anywhere else that I've heard other than in editorial pages on commondreams.org or truthdig.com or truthout.org and on these random blogs about what are our solutions, what are our options, what do we do when our government no longer represents the people and only represents a small minority of very wealthy elites. We have an oligarchy. We have a plutocracy. We have a meritocracy. We do not have a democracy anymore. And I think one of the hardest things people to accept is that we've already lost our democracy. I mean, we have America. It means we can elect the right people and they will fix the problems that we want to be fixed. Obviously, that's no longer the case when the general populace disagrees with the majority of the opinions of our Congress and of our president. What's to say here?
I mean, this is going back to the problems. And, you know, it's easy to list out the problems, which is, you know, we live in an unfair society, and that's something that is, you know, going to be incredibly hard to change. When it comes to solutions, I don't pretend to know to have the answers. I just have a lot of things that I would like to see different.
Yeah, I think the problem is from the left and people who are actually in the know or at least have an idea of what's going on. there's a lot of people coming out from different angles. Everyone has their own agenda. Everyone has their own issues. And there's so many issues that there's no real one macro movement or organization, if you will, that are telling people that, hey, this is obviously these are symptoms. And the way I see it is there's three things. You have obviously solutions, which is what we need to be talking about. You have the big picture, what I consider, for lack of a better term, a disease. And then you have an infinite number of symptoms of the disease. And everything from don't ask, don't tell, to election fraud, to Obama's chief of staff is J.P. Morgan Vice President Bill Daley. I mean, obviously we have corruption in all levels of government, and it's corruption by money. So how do you get money out of government? Because let's face it, these people are getting paid. They are getting campaign donations. And if you run for office and you don't get elected, or if you leave office and you still have a war chest, guess what? That war chest is now your war chest, and it's your money. And why do you think Newt Gingrich is running when he knows he's never going to win? Because he needs to amass large amounts of money. And so that's the thing. And even still, let's say you do get elected and you go on to other things, there's a revolving door. You will get paid for speeches. You will get paid by the Heritage Foundation and all these so-called think tanks to propagate their meme. And so we don't have a civics. I mean, what my argument is, we need a civics movement. Let's face it. Politics is a dirty word. It's a really dirty and ugly business. And the average individual has no business or even knowledge of politics. But they understand civics. They understand their daily life. They understand that they drive down roads to go to work, that the police will stop them if they're doing something wrong, et cetera. And so you have what are otherwise known as the commons, things we can all agree on. We need clean air, clean water, schools, and so on and so forth, education. Meanwhile, the very rich want to privatize that because it's a commodity they can make money off of. So otherwise, we need something that's nonprofit for the greater good. And I think if you look back in history, the only way of redress when things get bad enough are public movements, civil movements. You actually have civil rights, suffragists, et cetera. I mean, so unless without movements, we have nothing.
Get active.
Yeah, get out there and get active. And I don't mean join the Democratic Party.
And on that note, I do want to make a real quick mention of the song that I played right before we came back from break a few minutes ago. That was Hard Road to Freedom by my good friend, Mos Henry. Please go check out his website. That's moshenry.com, MOSSHENRY, just like it sounds, Mos Henry. All of his songs are on his website for free for you to check out, so go check them out. And fingers crossed, theoretically, the machine works, and we should be joined by two of the best freaking awesome people who have ever graced the airwaves on RadioOrNot.com, and it is my pleasure to welcome them as the very first guests ever on Filter Free Radio. The host of Left in Dixie with the Left Neck Chick, Wednesdays right here on RadioOrNot.com, and the host of Funked in the Head, Thursdays right here on RadioOrNot.com. Both Danielle and Shano, welcome to the program.
Hello, Jacob.
How you doing, Jacob?
Good. Guys, it works. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, there's someone coming through my headphones. Who is that?
Look at that. I'm whispering in your ear.
Wow.
Jacob, is that you?
You have a good radio voice, by the way.
Thank you.
So theoretically, oh, by the way, guys, I do apologize for all of the technical difficulties here.
No problem at all, Jacob. You're doing great. You are kicking butt on your third show there.
Oh, thank you, Danielle. And just to let everybody know, the reason that I want to bring you and Shane on the show is because I love Kenny to death. I love Kenny and Deba and Tom and everybody else who I'm forgetting, but I hold you and Shano in a very special place in my heart, only because you were the very first show to ever have me on RadioOrNot.com, and the only way that I can see to do that justice is to have you guys be the very first guests we've ever had on Filter Free Radio, and I think it's working.
Yeah, you're also the inspiration for this radio show.
Oh.
Well, it was Danielle and whiskey that actually got us all together.
Yes,
Never underestimate the power of alcohol.
That's right. And Jacob, it's an honor to be your first guest, and absolutely. We were so excited the first day we got to talk to you, and Shane can attest how excited and amped up we were to get to meet you, and then we've all become such great friends since then. So.
Yeah, and when you when I guest hosted for Nicole Sandler and you came on, I was like, we got to make you a regular forever. I just wanted to okay, you're now a co-host on all the shows, please.
Yes.
But you went ahead and did your own great show. So
My pleasure. And if there, like I've mentioned before, if there's anything I can do for you guys, I am here, and I appreciate. I mean, Shano, you built the website. I know nothing about computers. I can barely turn it on, and
you just pick up the mouse and click at it like a remote.
And as we just realized, I couldn't even get you guys on the show there. I was scrambling to figure out how to get you guys on the show. So a million thanks for building.
No, it's my pleasure, and I love doing that kind of stuff. So it was a blast to do.
And I love free labor.
Well,
me, I'm cheap.
No, and I would love for everyone to go check out the website and let us know what you think. That would be fantastic. Filterfreeradio.com. I
think it needs work.
I love you, Mr. Skeptic. You're so funny. So thanks for coming on, guys. And we spent the majority of the first hour kind of just bitching about all the problems, and
easy to do these days.
It was dense, but I can be dense too.
Well, I can only be dense for about an hour, and then I have to relax and get loose. But that was really bad to say. Anyways, what I want to focus on in the second hour is solutions. Just kind of general, I mean, we're not going to solve the world's problems in a half an hour long radio show. But I think there are some really common sense solutions that nobody's talking about, or that we all think but nobody's bringing up, or just solutions in general. And these damn Ustream ads are killing me. I'm sorry. I want to play a clip, and then I'm like, why is there audio playing? Oh, because it's a Ustream ad. I have a clip here from probably the only Republican that I'm willing to even, go as far as to say that I like or would support or something along that lines. I know it's
and scary.
I am.
Who is it?
I'm struggling to even say these words. It's hard, but here's a man who I think has a brilliant solution. And this is a minute-long clip. It's a little long, but I want to play the whole thing for you. This is Republican candidate for president 2012, Buddy Romner.
I remember running against Edwin Edwards in Louisiana, corrupt governor. Just got out of jail. He had never been beaten. And he beat me 4 years later. He's tough. He spent $15 million. I spent 1.6. And we whipped him. There were other good people running too. It can be done. But you've got to get right in the face of the tiger. You can't blink against corruption. You have to take it on. So my remedies are clear and can be done by anyone who has courage. And I challenge the Mitt Romneys of the world, and the Rick Perrys, and the Michelle Bachmans, and the Ron Pauls, and the John Huntsman, and anybody else who's there. Herman Cain, I don't want to leave anybody out. Gary Johnson, whomever. I challenge them to accept this pledge. No PAC money, no super PACs formed. Keep your limit at $2,500. I can live with that. I'll keep mine at 100. And let's go get the American people. I think it would energize the campaign. No more Wall Street fundraisers. They'd be out with the folks. They might hear something.
What do you guys think?
I mean, it's kind of a vicious cycle. He's campaigning against PAC use, but the reason why his campaign is getting no motivation and no attention is because he hasn't been able to build up a sizable war chest through those kind of tools.
Right. If everyone would jump on board, that'd be wonderful. But, there's always going to be that one person who says, no, I'm going to take the PAC money. Russ Feingold didn't get reelected because he decided not to take the PAC money.
And that was Obama last time around.
Well, and because they don't take the PAC money, they're not going to be beholden to the corporations, and they're not going to get the ad time and the face time on Fox. Granted, I would love to see that happen, but we've seen the reverse with, the basically outlawing the public financing of campaigns in Arizona. And unfortunately, it's a slippery slope, and we all know those things are just going to lead to the outlawing of public funds elsewhere.
Yep, they've already went after that in Arizona, and that kind of I tried to set that up to bring me to my point that am I in some kind of fantasy make believe? Oh my goodness, maybe there is a real solution out there that could solve all the problems. But it seems like whenever I bring up things like, why don't we just get money out of politics, it's like, yeah, that's a great idea. And nobody's for it. Nobody wants to move along with it.
Well, it is a great idea, Jacob. You're not wrong to believe that it would help a lot of things. It's just how we get it done is really the problem.
There's one way and one way alone, and it's a constitutional amendment. And we can't even get the debt ceiling passed, much less are we going to get a constitutional amendment that says corporations aren't people, and by the way, money isn't speech. That would fix it right there.
Well, they start a movement.
Starting a movement, yes, but and it would be nice to have a constitutional convention.
Oh yeah,
Shane's a lawyer.
But the original framers of the Constitution envisioned a regular constitutional convention. There was another way to amend, which seems to be the only way people think of now, which is the 2/3, and then 3/4 of the states.
Right.
Sure.
But that would be the only way, because the Supreme Court's makeup is not going to change significantly. It's certainly not to the left anytime soon.
Hey, we can dream.
That's what I'm saying.
False hope.
Well, since you're a lawyer, how would you go about doing the constitutional convention exactly? What steps would need to be taken?
That I don't know.
Well, because when's the last time we had
early 1800s?
Yeah, I don't think it was envisioned with the grasp of how large our population and country would be. I really don't.
No, but yeah, and also can you imagine the Tea Partiers? How crazy they are. Oh my God! Don't you touch the 2nd and the 10th. Just leave the rest of them.
I love.
but they want to repeal the 14th.
Yeah.
And 16th, big time.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I love Bill Maher's take on the Tea Party, and that liberals need their own. We have to come up with a party that's going to out crazy the crazies, and he called it the Donner Party, and it's like, yeah, we will literally eat our own selves before we're willing to compromise. And it was just brilliant.
Well, we have to establish a moral high ground. We have to establish a moral baseline from which we're going to operate from, and we can't bend from that. I mean, the problem is we now have a government, and Barack Obama said this in his last speech, that without not in so many words, of course, but there's no longer moral. I mean, they no longer care about morality. They really only care about the bottom line numbers and about getting re-election and really the sausage being made on Capitol Hill. I mean, there's no real concern for what is or isn't right. Ethically and morally. And you don't hear that discussed at all.
They don't even care about legislation. They'd be very happy to have no legislation for the next 18 months.
Oh, yeah, because it couldn't be held against them later.
Right. Yep. They would love gridlock. They would love absolute gridlock, and they would love the economy to plummet and say, see, it's all their fault, and elect us.
We need to cut more taxes.
Right.
So, it's a vicious circle, unfortunately.
It is.
I have a juicy bit here for us.
I think at certain times as I watch the debates on C-SPAN and you see how the sausage is made, you wonder how so many rat turds got in the sausage.
Love Jon Stewart. Love you, John.
Way to boil it down.
Literally. Yeah. That's nasty. Boiling rat turds. Okay. Well, I think boiling rat turds.
It's a giant chocolate sprinkle, Jacob. Don't you know that?
I'm going to track that clip down and come back with that. We are up against the clock because it took me forever to figure out how to spin this hamster wheel back here to get Danielle and Shano on, and I'm so happy that they joined us. And don't go anywhere because they're coming back and we're coming back, and we're going to have a lot more fun here on Filter Free Radio. And I do want to thank everybody out in the chat room who's out there hanging out with us, and everybody who's listening and watching on RadioOrNot.com and on the Ustream page, the home of Nicole Sandler, RadioOrNot.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Prepare to be dazzled.
Left in Dixie, Left in Dixie, Left in Dixie with a left neck chick.
You've got to be kidding me. This chick's crazy.
Seriously.
All right, I get it. You're cool, not mainstream.
The lovely Danielle, the left neck chick.
You've got a smoky, sexy voice. The official drunken Irish woman.
7 to 9 p.m. Wednesdays on the Ustream home of Nicole Sandler, Radio or Not.
The work of this deviant mind, Shano.
Funked in the Head with Shano and the left neck chick.
Oh, that is so awesome.
That's funked with an N, FCC if you're listening.
And the main export is furious political thought.
Shano is a real brilliant man.
And the lovely Danielle, the left neck chick.
The woman who finally gets what she wants by standing up for herself.
Thursdays, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, on the Ustream home of Nicole Sandler, Radio or Not.
I see O'Reilly on the TV and he's starting to rant. Must be Fox News. Oh yeah, they're selling propaganda and pretending it's fact. Must be a Fox News with those right-wing views. Yeah, they're trying to convince ya the rich should get richer. Now ain't that some They spin their stories to defend a crazy right-wing agenda. They're on Fox News. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a liberal smarty, and I know just what they're trying to do. Telling those old white folks, vote Republican Party, or the gay commies will come for you. I pity the fool that falls for what they do. Oh, they get paid, fellas, just to make you afraid, fellas. Ooh, I've got some news for you. Yeah, underneath that crap they're passing off as news. I see O'Reilly on the TV and he's starting to rant. Must be a Fox News. Oh yeah, they're selling propaganda and pretending it's fact. Must be a Fox News with those right-wing views. Yeah, they're trying to convince ya the rich should get richer. Now ain't that some They spin their stories to defend a crazy right-wing agenda. They're on Fox News. Now I know that they get memos for what to tell you every night. And when the sane watch, they get brainwashed by the rich white bigots on the right. Now I pity the fool that falls for what they do. Oh, they get paid, fellas, yeah, just to make you afraid, fellas. Ooh, they're hypnotizing you. Oh, just turn off the TV and think for yourself. I see O'Reilly on the TV and he's starting to rant. Must be a Fox News. Oh yeah, they're selling propaganda and pretending it's fact. Must be Fox News with those right-wing views. Yeah, they're trying to convince ya the rich should get richer. Now ain't that some They spin their stories to defend a crazy right-wing agenda. They're on Fox News. Now maybe all news media is slanted at best. Oh yes. But when it comes to right-wing propaganda, Fox News tops all the rest. Yes, they do. And I'm like, why? Lie. Speak plainly. Or is lying the only way we'd agree with you? Oh, I see O'Reilly on the TV starting to rant. Must be Fox News. Oh yeah, they're selling propaganda and pretending it's fact. Must be Fox News with those right-wing views. Yeah, they're trying to convince ya the rich should get richer. Now ain't that some They spin their stories to defend a crazy right-wing agenda. They're on Fox News.
This is Stephanie Miller.
This is Roz Atkins from the BBC's World Have Your Say.
This is Nicole Bell of CrystalWires.com.
I'm cartoonist and agent provocateur T.S. Mueller, and I listen to Turn Up the Night with Kenny Pick.
Turn Up the Night with Kenny Pick.
Kenny Pick on Turn Up the Night.
My good friend Kenny Pick on Turn Up the Night.
Turn Up the Night with Kenny Pick.
Aw, shucks. You're all so kind. Join me and my co-hosts, Danielle, Dubba, and Tom, live from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern on the Ustream home of Nicole Sandler, Radio or Not, and at KennyPick.com. Lots of guaranteed laughs and a progressive talk experience you won't soon forget. We're kind of smart, too. Oh, we have all kinds of special guests. Don't forget that. And now, a quick recap using my tough guy voice. Live every Tuesday and Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern on the Ustream home of Nicole Sandler, Radio or Not, and KennyPick.com.
This is it. You're listening to Jacob Dean, streaming live on the web.
It's our job to very coldly assess reality and then figure out how to respond.
We bring you the real stuff.
And if we have this naive belief that in the inevitability of human progress or that science and technology will take care of us, then we're doomed.
You're listening to Jacob.
Look, I mean, we don't have much time left. And yet, what are we doing? It's a kind of willful suicide. It's that twilight period that grips civilizations when they just disconnect from what's happening around them. The walls literally go down and they don't see it.
You're listening to Jacob.
Talk about resistance. I think we have to stand up now and carry out acts of nonviolent resistance. It's incumbent upon those of us at this point to do anything, however futile it may appear.
Streaming live on the web.
All of us who care about maintaining a peaceful and an open society.
This is it.
Begin to carry out these kinds of acts, even if they're lonely acts.
Chris Hedges can say in a minute what it takes for me to say 2 hours. Welcome back to Filter Free Radio. I am your host, Jacob Dean. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. The music, fine music that you heard over the break was Fox News by Chris Snyder.
What?
I was looking for the website. Sorry about that. It is, and of course, it's very simple. Chris-Snyder, that's C-H-R-I-S dash, horizontal dash, Snyder, SNYDER.com. You can go find Chris's parody of, what is that? Forget You by CeeLo Green, but he did Fox News, and I love that. I want to welcome back my co-host, Skeptical Scott, our... I just laugh. I just laugh when I look at the word News Gladiator. News Gladiator, Justin.
Gladiator.
And our super fantastic and super secret special guests, the very first guests ever on Filter Free Radio, the host of the Left and Dixie, the Left Neck Chick, and Funked in the Head, Shano. Welcome back, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out and bearing with me as I try to spin the hamster wheel with one hand here and try to play.
Doing awesome, Jacob, and we're happy to be here.
Awesomely. And by the way, in the break, I looked up the Constitutional Convention, how that happens, if you want to know.
Oh, yeah.
How does that happen?
Yes.
It's in Article 5 of the Constitution, and essentially what happens is 2/3 of the states, their legislatures have to call for it. So it would be, 38 states? But it would be a state legislature. It wouldn't have to be the Congress. If they call for it and they propose amendments, and then you have a Constitutional Convention. And then there's two different methods of ratification. Either the state legislatures can do it, or by state conventions. So it takes the federal Congress out of it, which would be nice at this point, considering what crap they're pulling right now.
So we have to get 38
states
to
aren't much
call
better.
for?
I mean, we're living in the age of Scott Walker and Chris Christie, and
right. Well,
Fitzwalkerston.
Walkerston.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to, because that was something I probably should have looked up before I brought up the idea of it. So
no worries.
It was a good idea nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And for the last few minutes of the program, I just want to kind of open the floor and let everybody rail on what's on the top of your mind. I mean, I know that's one of the things that kind of frustrates me about progressives, but I also love about progressives is we're able to balance all of these different issues. I mean, so many different issues that are on all the tops of our minds, and yet the Republicans are only one-track minded. They can only focus on one issue at a time. And granted, I guess they do have a better offense with that, but there's so many things on the table, on the plate. What's on the top of your mind?
One of my solutions. On October 6, 2011, there's going to be a occupation of Freedom Plaza here in D.C. starting with October 6th. And when I say occupation, I don't just mean a one-day protest. I mean people are actually going to have. This is supposed to be our Tahrir Square. They're going to actually occupy. It's not even a very big area. It's somewhere. It's actually directly between the White House and the Capitol on Pennsylvania Avenue in downtown D.C. It's called Federal Plaza. It's called Freedom Plaza. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to basically force the hand of our government to actually take notice to the people's plight and what we need and what we want. And that's the first act of civil disobedience.
Now, that was the Chris Hedges clip that we played in the very first break.
Right.
When he
said, why I will be there.
We're going to be playing more of those. We're going to try to get at least one of those in every show from here on out until October. But, yeah, he explained, and if you're just tuning in now, we're going to put this show up on RadioOrNot.com and FilterFreeRadio.com. And if you've missed it, go back into the podcast of the show and check it out, where Chris lays out why it's so important that we need to become active. We need to get in the streets.
Yeah, and there's actually a website for it. It's called October2011.org, October2011.org. And there's a list right on the front page of the 6 demands, starting with tax the rich and corporations and getting money out of politics. Pretty basic demands.
Yeah, actually, for all of the Nicole Sandler and Radio or Not family listeners, you can find that link right on her regular blog, her permanent links on
Excellent.
Radio.
Bam.
Been all about that. So you're already going there. Just scroll around, find it, and click, learn all about it.
You're already halfway there.
Right.
Excellent. We're on the right track, at least.
Danielle, what's on your mind?
Well, of course, the the lovely and talented Brad and Desi of the Brad blog always share great stuff with us. Of course, we play the Green News Report, and we were lucky to have them on last week.
Jealous.
I'm sure they would join Jacob. They're really good people.
Well, I just sat there and I was quiet the whole time. I wanted to hear Brad and Desi talk.
Yeah, that was some cutting news. You're going to share that with us? That was excellent. I heard that.
Oh, they really are awesome people. I mean, you can just wind them up and let them go, and you have a show. You really don't have to do anything.
My kind of show.
Yes. But in his latest email, the Brad blog alert, of course, no real surprise, as he puts it, recent e-voting Florida hack. The anonymous hacker, I have no idea how to pronounce this, ABHAXAS, hacked into Florida's e-voting database and breached the system, basically to illustrate the minimum level of vulnerability. And I'm not surprised.
I like the line in there that says that the ease of hacking it lines up with the arrogance of the person who thinks they've made it hack proof. The more arrogant they are, the easier it is to get in because they just think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The exact line is, the ease of defeating a security device or system is proportional to how confident/arrogant the designer, manufacturer, or user is about it, and how often they use words like impossible or tamper-proof. Yeah.
Aren't you going to share with us? I actually listened to your show the other day, and you're going to share with us what they told you about the Wisconsin election or the recall vote?
Oh, about which part of it? Because we've actually had them on talking about Wisconsin many times.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was just the one where they mentioned that the whole one district was completely corrupt.
Oh, yes.
Waukesha.
Yeah, Waukesha County, where Kathy Nicholas somehow still has a fucking job. And, basically a woman who was already caught pulling votes out of some dark hole somewhere we don't need to mention.
Some orifice.
Yes. And
pick me. I know the answer.
Yeah.
Ass.
For 200. Yes.
We do a Jeopardy for him. What is her ass?
All answers must be formed in these form of a question.
Yeah. Basically that precinct came in so much later, had only reported about 500 votes until the majority of the votes in the entire district came in. And, of course, that allowed her to swing. Obviously this is allegedly, and I'm putting this all in air quotes, although I don't think anybody believes it's actually an allegation. It's more of a likelihood. But those votes came in so late, and given the number of votes she reported, she could have swung the election either way. And
she left herself enough time to know how many votes she needed to pad by. When she didn't do that before, she had to go find them afterwards when Prosser was up against her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
she's
same
just
woman.
Special.
It's amazing how these people still in power in their electoral districts.
Because she's elected.
Yeah, we asked Brad how she is an elected official, and she's certainly not going to be shamed out of office.
So she runs for office and people re-elect her.
And she happens to control the votes.
What was her excuse during the Supreme Court case? Wasn't it that it was just human error? And didn't she come out with kind of a weepy apology or something like that?
Yeah, something
pretty much. I mean, it was barely even an apology.
She didn't hit save.
Yeah.
There we go. Exactly.
Yeah, it's seriously Control S.
It's so interesting this is happening again. That's fascinating.
Yeah, what a surprise.
Just a push of a button, just a touch of a screen.
I got to give you the song, Danielle. I know you're big on this.
Welcome to the future. Come try our voting
voting machine. Yeah, I got to
There you
get
go.
that for next time Brad's on.
I'll get that for you.
You should totally email that to Brad. That would end up in a Green News report for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, he would. The Green News reports are so well produced.
Yeah. And that's a brilliant topic to focus on, because there's such a bigger picture to that, and that the whole democratic process behind that is simply voting. And if we can't make our voices heard, what is the point of democracy?
Even if we did get out to vote, the election would still be fixed.
Now that they've got control of so many states, there's a systematic attack on the voting process and trying to disenfranchise
The voter
whatever
ID
way.
laws.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, poll tax.
Yep.
And minimizing the number of polling locations, shortening the hours, putting up people who really aren't threatening your vote. They just happen to be big, scary people who want to take your picture or
also with
convince
these-
you why you shouldn't vote for who you're voting for.
And in Wisconsin, with the voter ID thing, they say, well, you just have to go down there. It's free. You can get an ID.
They were still not allowing people. They
But-
had big signs on the
but-
wall saying you had to show your ID.
But also, Walker is systematically closing down DMVs in higher Democratic areas and increasing the number ones in Republican areas.
So is good old Rick's.
Yep. It's bullshit. It's ridiculous.
Plus,
And-
I remember you actually, the other thing you mentioned too was that there was the one district where they didn't actually do any exit polling. And it goes back to 2000 when George Bush goes, well, I guess the exit polls were wrong. Meanwhile, exit polls have never been wrong, and we actually judge elections in third world countries on exit polls.
And Ohio too. They had there was a big discrepancy between the exit polls in 2004.
Right.
Shocked, I tell you.
Yeah. So now they just have nothing to compare it to.
Shocked that there's gambling going on.
They even stopped doing exit polls in many cases.
But the exit poll thing was in Waukesha.
Yeah, they made them actually stand across the street in order to do the exit polling, which was about 100 feet away, and they had to shout to people from across the street, asking them if they would come by and do the exit poll. And we know how willing and participating most of the electorate is to walk an extra 10 feet, unless there's a cheeseburger over
And also, they got it set up hours later, and Democrats,
Right.
typically vote earlier. So
Right.
all your stats are completely skewed at that point.
So basically, we've lost our democracy.
Yes.
Well, okay. on a much happier note,
it's under attack, that's for sure.
just curious. News gladiator Justin, what's on your mind, bud? What's tingling the tops of your brain cells and making you go ooh? I don't know. I've got nothing.
I hate
what,
pants.
What sends a tingle in your leg?
No, I am actually just trying to focus on staying awake right now. no, which is not anything to say about your show. This is just a
okay. Yeah, no,
just a long day at the office.
Glad to have you on again.
So I'm mindless. I'm a zombie, and all I'm thinking about is.
Well, we should mention again that you just got back from Iowa. I mean, you were there live, and so you've been through hell and high water and back, and had to deal with all of that, and not to mention jet lag and everything. But still, I mean, you had to deal with that. So I understand you're taking it easy, which is good, and I appreciate you hanging out with us. Shano, bud, what's on the top of your mind? What's tingling your brain cells?
Well, there's a great op-ed in the New York Times today by Warren Buffett.
Thank you.
About this. Stop coddling the super rich. And it has these crazy things that we call facts. Yes, I know. There should be a drama sting there.
Wait for it. Wait.
Oh, a timpani one. I love it. That's awesome. That's spectacular. But essentially, he methodically goes through the facts in terms of tax rates, effective tax rates, and its effect on the deficit and employment, that even in higher tax and in investment. And I think one of the best lines in it, let's see if I can find it. I've worked with investors for 60 years, and I have yet to see anyone, not even when capital gains rate were 39.9% in 1976 and 77, shy away from sensible investments because of the tax rate on the potential gain.
Yeah.
People invest to make money, and potential taxes have never scared them off. So the Republican meme saying, if you increase capital gains, the investment will stop, is a bunch of bull.
It's a falsehood. And the reality is, the facts are, in history, a higher taxes mean a more egalitarian society and a much better economy.
Exactly.
Because rich people don't spend their money, they hoard it. And poor people need more money to spend to stay alive. So
the money multiplier on lower income is
It's I believe it's 7 times higher than that of the rich.
Yes.
Yep. And that you can use a really high tax rate and give tax incentive for local, national investment for jobs actually created within this country, for infrastructure investments, for jobs,
and public-private partnerships, which is how we get the really big projects done.
Bingo. I love when Warren Buffett, one of the most richest, famously because he's rich, people come out and say we need to raise taxes on the rich. One of my favorite songs of all time, to quote Rush, the band, not the asshole. Closer to the heart, the opening line. And the men who hold high places must be the ones who start to mold a new reality closer to the heart.
And Warren Buffett quoted that in his article, didn't he?
He's a big Rush fan.
I don't know. Making the same point, though, yeah. In the article today, another quote that I have in front of me that I wrote down because I love this quote as well. While the poor and middle class fight for us in Afghanistan, and while most Americans struggle to make ends meet, we mega rich continue to get our extraordinary tax breaks. The rich are saying, yeah, we're kind of getting a lot of breaks here, guys. Maybe you might want to take a look at
asshole
that.
Fox News people say, fine, if you want to pay more taxes, just write a check to the IRS. We'll give you the address. That snotty, smirky.
Right. And, of course, they're all rushing to the mailbox to deliver their donations to the government.
Yeah, on a sad note, too, there's a front-page story in Sunday's New York Times where basically President Obama laid out that he's not, well, the story anyway laid out that Obama is no longer paying attention to economists and economics in designing his economic policy. Instead, he's going to do whatever his campaign people tell him to get reelected, presumably because he needs to get a lot of money from Wall Street. And his chief of staff is J.P. Morgan Vice President Bill Daley.
So we'll get a political solution, not an economic solution.
Yeah, it'll be lip service. I mean, we'll get whatever. He might give a really good speech on poverty, but he's not going to do anything about it.
Well, but can I just maybe play the happy clappy liberal for a second?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think he's played the political point from the beginning. I think that the economic advisors he's had have made him do the bare minimum, and I think the people will demand a hell of a lot more. If he wants, that large number of votes, he's going to have to do things that are going to have a bigger effect more quickly, like large infrastructure projects that put a lot of people to work and make big changes in the unemployment rate. And if he did that, those would be political points. Yes, the other side will attack him, but they're going to fucking attack him anyway.
Yep.
Well, the two main policies that he can enact that seem politically possible is by way with the infrastructure bank and the extension of the payroll tax cuts. Those seem feasible. This trademark thing seems like nobody's going to understand it. What the
right?
What that they're going to say? Well, who cares? I don't know what a trademark is. But if he can get those two through, that might have an effect, a positive one. The other one was the trade deals, which I unless they're fair, I doubt that they would have a positive impact. They would just ship more jobs overseas and not create more trade deficits.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, San Francisco is getting a new Bay Bridge put in, not the iconic, in addition to. And guess where the bridge is being built? It's being built in China. Like, literally, it's
prefab.
I mean, literally, bridge made in China and being shipped here. And not only is that putting us out of work, it's just ass freaking backwards.
The money is not circulating through the economy. I mean, Dylan Radigan was right. The word extraction is a very key word because the money is leaving the country and not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, I mean, they did such a good job with toys and drywall. Yeah. I'm sure that
Love the lead-based paint. It tastes delicious.
Yeah.
I used to eat paint as a kid, so.
That explains it.
You beat me to it, Shano.
Sorry, big fan of Tommy Boy.
So what do we tell everybody to do? I mean, we get in the streets, we get active. You tell 5 friends tell 5 friends. We become educated. We become informed.
We don't have an educated populace. I mean, I think you and I have talked about this many times. And you can't have a democracy when everybody is ignorant. You have to have an educated populace in order to be able to vote responsibly.
The whole system is based upon an elective representative government, and
an educated populace.
And unless we are educated and informed, the elected representatives are going to be the ones who manipulate the system for their own personal gains.
Well, I think you're giving people too much credit. I don't think it's always, technically ignorance. I think a lot of this is just selfishness, and that's something that's going to be harder to get over. I mean, a lot of people just sort of a knee-jerk reaction, fear tax increases, even if it's on the richest, just because it sounds something that could threaten their wallet or could, threaten their economic future in this weird alternative universe that the Republicans try to project.
That's misinformation, then.
Yeah.
So not just ignorance, but the wrong information.
There's also a concerted effort, it seems, by Republicans to keep people a little bit dumber.
Oh, of course.
And Jefferson himself was the one who said, in the Federalist Papers, that it was based on an informed electorate. And there's a systematic attempt to keep people uninformed and certainly misinformed through their bumper stickers and out falsehoods.
I would even argue that in addition to making education a commodity, you dumb down the populace. I mean, if you privatize it, less people are going to get educated.
Well, and Scott, I believe that's you talking, right? Skeptical Scott?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Perhaps, yes, it's fine. Perhaps, I think it was last show that you were talking about that when you hear a lie, when you hear a bit of misinformation being circulated by the public, you challenge it, and you have to stand up to that and say what the truth is. Am I correct that was you?
Yeah, that was me, unfortunately.
Hi, liar!
No, absolute fortune. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't go back and educate everybody as well as we'd like to.
No.
Can challenge those facts. We can take those 5 people that Jacob is talking about that we want to go tell 5 people and correct them on that one important fact. And if they believe that and they realize that what you said is true, they're going to come back and trust you for that next fact. And they're going to go and spread that information to other people because people like to be right.
Yeah, and the important thing, too, is that when you give somebody what I consider a paradigm shift, where you no longer see, suddenly your opinion that you hold is wrong, and you accept that your opinion was wrong, and you change your opinion based on some new information, if people are able to do that, and you're able to do that with other individuals on a daily basis, even if it's a minute thing. For example, I had someone the other day tell me that all our problems will be solved if we just privatized everything. Right. Which was just an asinine thing to say, and obviously completely ignorant, so I tried to educate this person on why they were wrong. And of course, that's where the conversation ended because they were overwhelmed and didn't want to talk about it.
Right. I'm not wrong. I'm never wrong. I mean, it's not human instinct. It's not natural to be like, yeah, I'm wrong.
Well, it's cognitive dissonance. It's the ability to hold two contradictory opinions at the same time and not lose your mind.
Well, in order to dismantle a meme, you have to have a bunch of people that their ego is strong enough to be able to change their minds, and that's really difficult. It's hard to say, you know what, I was wrong. And
no one wants to be wrong.
Right.
I know I don't.
Yes, but I'm saying that if
I'm never wrong.
If you teach somebody that one fact that they can be right about and that they can go and educate all of their little idiot friends about, they have a tendency to want to repeat that fact, believe it, and then want to learn more of them because it boosts their ego. And we can't go back and send somebody back to civics. We can't send them back through an entire education of schooling, but we can start to change their mind by those little facts, and that's the only way we're ever going to educate people who lack the knowledge that they should have. That's the only way it's ever going to enter their brain.
Amen.
I don't have an amen, but I guess that will do it.
It's a painful and uncomfortable conversation. I mean, I don't like to argue with anybody, and I certainly don't like to disagree with people and put them out, or at least make them feel stupid in any way, or vice versa. And so it's most people let shit slide. Someone says something racist or really ignorant, you just kind of let it go and go, this person doesn't know, and you move on. It's hard to stop and say, you're wrong, and here's why you're wrong.
Right.
So.
And on that note, have we solved the world's problems? Maybe not so much, but we've begun the conversation, and it's got to start somewhere. And the next step is with you. So get out there and continue the conversation. And I hope you will join us here every night of the week. We are live on RadioOrNot.com with fine hosts such as Danielle, the Left Neck Chick on Left and Dixie, and Shayna with Funked in the Head on Thursdays right here on RadioOrNot.com. Thank you guys so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Jacob.
Thank you, Jacob, very much.
And I want to thank my fantastic co-host, as always, Skeptical Scott, and our news...
You're wrong.
I can't help but laugh. Gladiator. Justin, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And Justin, mad props to you for making it all the way out to Iowa and back in one piece.
I try.
My name is Jacob Dean, host of Filter Free Radio. Thank you so much to danosongs.com, crownedrecords.com, Nicole Sandler, radioornot.com, and all the fine people who make this program possible. Thank you very much. I couldn't do it without you, obviously. And on that note, we will be back for just a couple of minutes of sausage, and have a great night. Thank you for hanging out.
This is it. You're listening to Jacob Dean.
We have to deal with the extraction that is at foot. It is the reason the financial markets are behaving the way they're behaving. That is a mathematical fact. This is not some opinion. This is a mathematical fact.
We bring you the real stuff.
And the fact of the matter is that there's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking. It's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation. And there's not a single politician that has stepped forward to deal with it.
Streaming live on the web.
People of the United States of America, your Congress is bought. Your Congress is incapable of making legislation on health care, banking, trade, or taxes, because if they do it, they will lose their political funding, and they won't do it. But I'm the President of the United States, and I will have a country that is run by a bought Congress. So I'm not going to work with a bought Congress and try to be Mr. Big Guy. I'm working with the bought Congress. I'm going to abandon the bought Congress like Teddy Roosevelt did.
You're listening to Jacob.
And I'm going to go to the people of the United States and I'm going to say, you've got a bought Congress. And until we get rid of the bought Congress, which is Jimmy Williams' constant point, which is get the money out of politics, and until a president says that's the problem and says he's going to fix it, there is no policy that I can possibly see, no matter how brilliant your idea may be, or your idea, or my idea, or her idea, or your idea at home.
This is it.
That idea will not happen as long as there's the capacity to basically fire a politician who disagrees with me by taking funding away from him. Is that a fair assessment?